Thanks everyone for taking the time to join us once again for July's Housing Hive. As I was saying at the very start, it's our 7th of the year. We've done one a month every month this year so far. So keeping up with the consistency, which is great. We were just saying when we opened the call, it's another really popular episode today in terms of interest, and hopefully what we're talking about today in collaboration with Thrive Homes, who we have on the call, who we'll introduce shortly, will be of interest and give you some food for thought, some ideas for your own self-service aspects around connecting, all importantly, customers with information related to safety, related to maintenance information. We'll go into the purposes of the project, and also we'll have some time for a short demo from Thrive as well. Just wanted to start with a quick thank you, I suppose, and hopefully it'll be a helpful 45 minutes or so. We'll start on today's agenda quickly. So those of you who are new, we'll run through a very quick intro into Prodo and a couple of our colleagues that we've got on the call today, and where we kind of fit into the sector as an expert partner. The Zoom chat will be your best bet in terms of questions throughout the session. We do record and publish all of these sessions, so if you wouldn't mind keeping the mics muted just for the time being, that'd be much appreciated. And we'll be popping a few links in that chat pane as well, to a couple of articles, or even aspects to get in touch with us if you need to, or connect me on LinkedIn, those sorts of things. So keep a little eye out for those. Obviously, today's topic is going to be in collaboration with Thrive Homes and a new digital tool that's been implemented on their website in partnership with us, around surfacing safety information, maintenance schedules and things with customers, which, when we get into it, might feel like quite a simple solution, but a lot of planning, a lot of effort went into getting it live and working so smoothly. And also, it's not something which we've seen before. Obviously, it feels like quite a simple solution to a common problem, but not necessarily something that we've seen very often in the sector before. We'll obviously have time for a bit of Q&A at the end as well. So if anyone's got any queries for us at Prodo, or for the team at Thrive, feel free to pop those in the chat, and we'll look to address those towards the end of the session, if that sounds okay. Oh, my screen's just completely gone purple. Is that still looking okay for you, Joe? Have we gone?
It is for me.
Is it looking okay? Is it?
Yeah, it's fine from this side.
Okay, great stuff. My screen's just a big block of purple, so I'll have to just trust you guys that it's working okay. There we go. Looks okay on the big screen, which is the main thing. Thank you for that confirmation there, Joe. Quick intros then. So my name's Jacob. I'm head of sales here at Prodo. So it's my team's role essentially in the business to consult with housing associations and professionals who are ultimately looking to transform in some way with digital, identify and solve challenges using digital, and ultimately look to align some of Prodo's products and services, which are specially designed for that purpose, to help drive the sector forwards from a digital transformation perspective. Our goal as an agency is really simple. We look to use digital as a force for good to streamline not only internal processes, but I suppose customer inquiries and those customer engagement pieces for those people who have the means and ability and confidence to do so. With the overarching goal to free up internal teams at housing associations to spend empathy and expertise that you've obviously built up over the years to spend with customers with more complex needs, I suppose. We've been around a really long time, so operating in the housing space for over 20 years, currently working with around 100, in the past 100 plus, but currently about 50 or so housing associations. Taking a range of services from us, from the likes of website development, customer portals and apps, digital strategy consultancy, and these sorts of things, and everything that sort of surrounds that as well. So that's us. I'll let a couple of my colleagues say a quick hello as well. So we've got Claire and Joe Wilson on the call with us. So we want to say a quick hello as well, guys.
Oh, hi everyone. Thanks so much for coming today. I'm Claire. I'm Business Development Manager here at Prodo. I've worked here for over 18 years, but a lot of you will know me from me inviting you to the monthly Housing Hive, which we started in lockdown. And I work really closely with Jacob, nurturing new opportunities and projects. So I hope you enjoy the session today.
Thanks, Claire. Joe?
Hey everyone, sorry, I had to just keep muting then. Somebody knocked at the door and my dog has gone absolutely crazy. So he often likes to join in on these calls. So apologies if you hear a loud shrill in a minute. But yeah, I'm Jo Wilson. I'm part of the client services team here at Prodo. I've been here for a couple of years now as a senior account manager, and have been luckily working alongside Thrive and being sort of heavily involved in the launch of this project.
Great stuff. Thanks, Joe. We'll move through a quick bit of background and then we'll introduce you guys from Thrive as well, if that sounds all right. So Just quickly, we do, as I said at the start, we record and publish all of these webinars. So if you need to, if you'd like to share this internally with somebody, or if you need to jump off and want to revisit it, or if you're interested in seeing some of the topics we've covered in the past, it's likely that we've covered something which is probably of interest to you. I haven't done them for a few years now. So this one will be published, edited, and up later today, if not tomorrow. So we'll pop a link over to you onto the video hub as well. But yeah, as you know, we're joined by Thrive Homes today, who we've been working with for over the past 4 years or so on web development projects, consultancy projects. The website's actually a really nicely designed one with a great looking brand to work with. So feel free to go and have a little look around that one and click through. But yeah, I suppose now will be a good time to let you guys introduce yourselves, Fiona and Leah. So I'll hand over to you both as well, if that's okay.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Fiona Frost. I lead the marketing communications teams at Thrive Homes. I've been with the organisation from about 4 years now, and it's been a really exciting time for the organisation as we've made such a massive change in our digital product for our customers during that time. So Leah, over to you.
Hi everyone, good morning still. So I'm Leah and I'm the marketing communications customer lead at Thrive. So that means that I look after all customer communications. Been with Thrive for around 7 years now. And just as Fiona said, seeing quite a lot of change, particularly in the kind of digital arena, that we're still quite ambitious to really improve the customer experience for customers and get them transacting with us easily. So this has been quite a monumental project for us, to say the least.
Excellent, thank you very much. And then just I suppose a short intro into your organisation as well, if that's okay from you both.
Yeah, of course. So Thrive Homes was established in 2008 as a transfer of stock from Three Rivers District Council in Hertfordshire. Since then, we've grown and we now not only serve customers in, sorry, I'm going to have to play with my lighting, in the Three Rivers area, which is Rippensworth, Chorley Wood, but we've expanded to Watford, more broadly all the way across Hertfordshire and now Oxfordshire, Bedfordshire, Bucks. We are a regional housing provider. We're not looking to go national. And one of our key ambitions is that we make sure we are a professional landlord. So our focus is on doing what we do best, which is providing safe, affordable homes for people in one of the most expensive parts of the UK. So it's a challenge, especially at the moment, as I'm sure everyone is finding, but it's a very passionate organisation that wants to have good quality homes at affordable prices.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Fiona. Yeah, I'd say I'd sort of echo that, I suppose, in terms of the transformation that you've been on since we've worked together as well, which I suppose we've only been a small part of, really. But yeah, I think your notes around being quite a customer-centric organisation and putting customers at the forefront of what you do in terms of doing things that you do best from a customer centricity point of view, but not being afraid to utilize digital in some way to sort of help facilitate that as well. I think that's really come through as part of our relationship of partnership over the last 4 to 5 years. So no, absolutely.
And that, just to jump in, that was obviously driven by customer insights. So when I joined, Leah and I were very clear that we needed to identify our customer personas. We needed to understand where our customers were so that we were able to communicate in the way that they could engage with effectively and digest. So it's after kind of that persona project we've been able to make and back up the business decisions to move digital.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely of utmost importance, isn't it, when planning these sorts of things. And I think it's certainly definitely the best way to go about them as well, in terms of ensuring that the output off the back of the work is adopted and actually useful for not only the organisation, but customer base as well. So no, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Fiona. So before we get into the detail, just wanted to quickly touch upon, as we usually do in these sessions, just I suppose a short, if not definition, just explanation of, to make sure we're on the same page of what we're talking about from a topical point of view. So digital self-service is something we obviously speak quite a lot about in the sector, and something which we try and drive ourselves where possible with the partnerships that we have. But ultimately, it'll be what we're talking about today. I suppose it's all around giving tenants access to specific interfaces, if not information or tools to answer their own questions themselves. Certainly for those people who are willing and able to do so, whether that be due to access to devices, connections, confidence online, etc. And that can take obviously many different forms in terms of self-service. So I think one of the great things about the housing sector is the amount of customer data potentially available. I suppose the difficulty around that is sometimes the the health of that data and be able to access it in the right ways to sort of help facilitate these interfaces. But when those things are all sort of fall into place, the volume of data, the health of it in terms of accuracy, and also how accessible that is from an internal systems point of view, that's the perfect scenario for someone like us to sort of come in and help and sort of bring that to the surface, and also, I suppose, unlock the sort of transactional elements of enabling customers to self-serve themselves in many different sort of formats. But yeah, obviously it can take many different shapes and sizes, from something as simple as FAQs, section of your website being sort of knowledge base of articles and helpful guides and things, all the way through to things like automated chatbots or digital assistants, as maybe they're more commonly referred to, and a little bit less off-putting, through to, I suppose, more complex installations around specific customer portals or customer apps with deep integrations into those internal systems. So it can take many different forms. We're going to talk about a very specific, I suppose, example of that today, rather than going into the sort of the detail of specific customer portals or anything around that. It's more of a light touch, publicly accessible self-service outcome, but still very, very tailored and specific to those specific customer bases and their personal information as well around property specific and helpful data. I don't think it's a secret in the space of around the problems that these types of tools look to solve. We hear a lot about the potential frustrations at times attached to contractor management when they're relied upon for maintenance, as well as the sort of evolution of customer expectations, and sort of rightly so, being fairly sort of, I suppose, evolution over time regarding maintenance and sort of qualities of homes, but also just general sort of transparency around what's happening there. And I suppose attached to that is keeping on top of the changes around regulations and sort of how they adapt and change over time, which obviously is a compliance aspect, as well as drivers around customer feedback and sort of acting upon customer voice and sort of insight, which I know Fiona, you sort of touched upon a point there around planning for digital as well. But yeah, I suppose the next few slides are going to go into drivers for the project for Thrive, some statistics and sort of how the project came to the forefront and how it became a priority. But I thought now would be a good time, Leah and Fiona, to sort of hear from yourselves around sort of drivers for this project, and then we'll go into the stats and maybe jump into the demo of the tool, if that sounds okay with you.
Yeah, that's great. I'll lead on the driver's side, because that was the aspect that I was much more involved in before it handed over to Leah to actually build and implement the project. Obviously, as we've touched upon, many housing associations like Thrive are looking to improve efficiency through digital solutions and ultimately improve our customer experience. So that is the kind of the background driver. But this particular project was driven primarily by the regulatory changes. So we're talking about the Building Safety Act and the fire safety regulations, where, you know, we're being asked to provide information on building safety and fire safety to people on the first day that they move in, and buildings in scope. But we're an ambitious organisation. When we're asked to do something, we like to think, but what else could we provide? So rather than just looking at the buildings in scope, which for Thrive Homes, it's a handful, most of our properties are kind of 3 or 4 stories, I would say. We wanted to provide it for all buildings with a fire, an FRA. So that was one of the key drivers. Then the other side was driven by customer feedback on cleaning and grounds maintenance services. We had a number of individual inquiries that were asking for when their cleaner was coming, and we were identifying the time it was taking for our colleagues to respond to these very basic inquiries. And obviously wanted to look at whether we could transfer that to an automated digital solution, which frees up the time of our colleagues to do what they do best. That was backed up by our customer experience panel at the time. It was one of their actions on their consumer standard action plan that they wanted to have greater transparency. And this was further backed up by, we saw a rise in the number of complaints that we were receiving about cleaning and grounds maintenance, people believing it either hadn't come at the right time or the quality wasn't what they thought it should be. And one of those complaints did end up with the housing ombudsman, which, you don't want a complaint to go to the housing ombudsman, but it really helps a business case if you need to justify a project. And there was obviously a call for greater transparency and accessibility of the cleaning and grounds maintenance. So by bringing those two aspects together, working with 2 or 3 areas of the business, we were able to build quite a robust business case where we could justify the spend for efficiency. And it also links into, as an organisation, we're in a period of quite dramatic change. We're going through a data business transformation project where we're shifting from a traditional housing management software across to Microsoft Dynamics. So ultimately, we want to join the solution that Leah will take you through with our internal CRM system, which feeds out to a contractor portal. So in the long term, the contractors will be able to manage the schedules, do on-the-day changes, et cetera, So yes, we were driven by regulation, customer insight, complaints, but we do have an ambition as an organisation to continue to improve the way we manage our data and the service that we provide to our customers.
Thank you for that, Fiona. It gives a really, really solid background to the project, I suppose, which is great, and I suppose a few insights into sort of how the prioritisation came about as well. I know when we had our call discussing this fairly recently, we touched upon a few sort of statistics and figures around inquiry volumes, which I suppose would you say there's another aspect which maybe helped the business case to some extent in terms of what the potential return might be?
Yeah, I guess as with every business case, when you're looking to make a significant investment, you do need to justify the spend. So one way that we could do that was to go through everything from a basic inquiry, so somebody requesting their schedule, through to the length of time it would take for a complaint, whether it's stage 0, stage 1 or stage 2. And when we looked at the number of inquiries we were receiving within our field team, our housing relationship team, we identified that our colleagues were spending 15 minutes potentially on a call, because as soon as you start talking about a schedule, it normally goes on to something else.
Yeah.
So we were able to put costs and savings against those times.
Excellent. I suppose when that adds up over the years, we're talking about 100 hours of potential resource going into these sorts of things, which I suppose off the back of potentially even digitizing a portion of that is potentially quite a significant saving of people's time, which could go into other areas, I suppose. Would that be fair to say?
I would agree. But you're not just talking about time, you're talking about the value to our colleagues. So we have a wonderful team of housing officers who really know their stuff. We want them to get involved in the complex cases. We want to help the customers who are most in need. So if we can remove and automate the basic inquiries, it frees up their time. It hopefully, we're yet to see the success on this. The volume, the call volume might be impacted. It's got such a knock-on effect to so many different parts of the business.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, I mean, with the new tenant satisfaction measures in place and the listening and acting element of this, it can impact those measures as well. So when a customer will contact us, we would then need to speak to the contractor in order to come back to the customer. So it wasn't necessarily always one sort of conversation, and obviously there can be a lag or a delay, and we're relying on the contractor as well to be able to go back to the customer. And so as a customer, they're sort of thinking, well, you didn't resolve my query at first point of contact, fair enough. And sometimes we're not always listening and acting on what they're asking for, because they want an answer there and then. Is my cleaner coming today? It's a mess, etc. So it has that level of impact as well.
Yeah. Would you say there's an element of that around? Because I think generally when there's specific inquiries into those sorts of things, and maybe it's not even the case of providing that urgency of when something might be sorted. Would you say an element of this is just the transparency of people knowing when these things might happen, regardless of whether it be today, tomorrow, just knowing exactly when it might happen, just to give you a little bit of reassurance that something's happening?
Absolutely. I'd say it's an area that we're certainly, and I'm sure other landlords are in a similar position, where customers don't feel like they're being kept informed. And this is obviously a big part of being kept informed. It's that transparency, and also the trust element of it feeds into that, because it's all well and good kind of providing this information to customers. You need to be able to act on it in order to kind of walk the talk. So this tool actually helps us with that as well, by better managing our contractors, holding them to account to improve the service.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, thank you for that. We'll move into this tool specifically for now then. So I know, Joe, you're a bit closer to this than I've been in terms of the purpose of it. Before we get into Leah's demo, just give us a bit of background on the tool itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously what we are talking about today is a specific example of digital self-service, and something, as Jake mentioned, that we've developed in partnership with Thrive and have subsequently implemented on their publicly accessible website. So I know we've touched on the sort of purpose and key drivers with Fiona a little bit earlier. And as Jake's just mentioned, Leah will shortly take you through a demo of how the tool works. But first, I thought we'd just sort of touch on an overarching view really of what the tool is and what it does. So as Jake had said earlier, it might feel like something that's quite a simple tool, but there was lots and lots of planning and effort and many Zoom calls that went into making this work as smoothly as it does now. And again, whilst it does feel like a straightforward solution to a very common problem, there aren't that many other examples of this specific functionality, if any, actually across the sector. So that's hopefully something that, we're hoping this will help to change. So yeah, with the solution, customers have the ability to see results and updates relating to their cleaning and maintenance schedules. And more importantly, as Fiona touched on earlier, safety information, because it was sort of changes in regulation that really helped to get this project off the ground. So this tool helps the tenants view all of the information by simply entering their postcode, and that just filters the results through for them. And again, the tenants also have the ability to leave feedback on each event, task, whether that's a cleaning, garden, maintenance, anything, they can obviously leave their feedback, which then allows Thrive to hold their contractors accountable and then ultimately provide a better service, which is what obviously the overarching goal is here. So providing all of this information helps reduce the number of the volume of calls to the associated topics, but also allows Thrive to actively hear the customer's voice and sort of get a very clear view of how they're feeling about each of these services. I think that kind of covers it there, really, what the overarching aim was really for this tool.
Yeah, definitely. Great stuff. Thanks for that, Joe. So now would be, I suppose, a good time to jump into the demo, Leah, if you were ready to do so, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So I need to share my screen. Apologies, we don't usually use Zoom, we use Teams at Thrive. So I will share and hopefully it will work. Bear with me. So
I've realised that my screen goes completely purple if I open my laptop too far. So something's gone a bit wrong there. So I have to leave it a bit closed.
That's fine. Okay, right. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Awesome. Okay, so this is our the homepage of our website, and we've linked the tool within our top menu. We've also put a nice banner in here to promote it at the moment. When you go into the tool, and apologies because the Zoom bar, I don't know how to move the Zoom bar to give me my, there we go, that might be better down here. When you go into the tool, you are first greeted by a landing page that enables you to put your postcode in. So this is the first step to locating your building. What I will say before I go into the detail is that we developed this solution on a mobile first basis. So as Fiona touched on earlier, we know that over 70% of our website visitors are coming on a mobile, particularly on an iOS device. So what we developed was with mobile in mind, first and foremost. So first thing you do is put in a postcode. So I'm just going to take one that I prepared earlier to take you to one of our sites. So this is Alwyn Place, one of our flat blocks. It's not an in-scope building or anything like that. It's just one of our, as you can see, two-storey flat block. So you'll come to a landing page as a customer. You come to the landing page after putting in your postcode, and straight away you can familiarise with the page because you can see a picture of your building. So that was very much a key thing as well, is to kind of have that personalised journey in there. Once you come onto your landing page, you get two quick links. One is the events calendar. So that's all your kind of cleaning and grounds maintenance schedules. And the second one is your building safety information. So if I go into the building safety information, so this is based on our fire risk assessments, which obviously is something that our team manage internally and we have recorded on our systems. And so what we did is we thought, this is information that we need to provide to customers, particularly for buildings in scope. But as Fiona touched on, actually, we want to take it that step further, provide it to anyone that lives in a flat block, because as a customer, you know, it should be equal access to this type of information, and it all helps towards sort of being and feeling safe in your home. So the page itself is based around the FRA, but it does contain other information as well. The first section of this page is the stuff that's applicable to the building. So you've got your local fire service, particular to that actual area, the FRA itself with all of the actions, when it was last completed, anything that's outstanding, any actions that we need to take. So again, the customers know what's happening within their building. And then there's also information on building construction and cladding. So again, where we've got some buildings that are in scope or buildings that have got cladding, we can provide that information here. Again, is being transparent so that customers know exactly what their home is made from and that it's safe to reside in. We've got a section on safety equipment inside the flat. So again, underneath the fire safety regulations, there's a requirement to provide information on fire doors, evacuation strategies, and what to do in the event of a fire on day one when you become a customer, but also to remind customers of this at least once a year. And what we've done with this tool is actually we've thought, well, you know, let's make this information available all year round, and we can use our key communications to remind customers that it's there, so it's accessible all the time. It's not just text, there's videos that we've embedded, but again, we've used both sort of formats of content so that we can ensure that this can be provided to customers that are offline as well. And obviously offline customers can't watch the videos, so there's written content that supports that as well. And a feature that I haven't mentioned so far is that our website as a whole has a PDF download button. So you can download any web page into a PDF, print it off and provide that as sort of hard copy to customers, and it's date stamped as well, so you know when the content was last updated, you know if it's the latest version, etc. And that was created in a move to move away from hard copy leaflets that can outdate quite easily, and that actually we can use a central source of truth on our website. And of course it works fantastically for this solution because it means we can also provide building safety packs to those that can't get online. So there's the bespoke information, and then down here is information that we say is sort of generic for any block. It applies to any block. So what to do in the event of a fire. All of our properties have a stay put policy in place, so we've got information on that. Again, some video content to watch there, and you know, some information on what to do to keep the building safe. Some key points that we ask, what we ask customers to do, and what we do in response to that. Now, another feature that we developed as part of this solution is something called reusable content. So as you can imagine, and you can probably sort of vouch for this yourself, you've got hundreds of flat blocks, so it'd be an absolute pain to have to go through every single safety page and update it with information. It would take a very long time, quite administrative. So what Prodo did is they created us a solution called reusable content. So these blocks have got one central place in the back end of our website that we update the content in. And then when we make an update to that, it replicates across all the safety pages. So it makes it really efficient to manage this information as well. So that's the safety page side of it. But the really exciting side of it that we all love is our events calendar. So going into that page, again, it's bannered with the address and a picture. So you know as a customer that you're still on a page that relates to you and your building. The tool comes with some filtering functionality here, so you can filter between all events or cleaning on its own, or grounds maintenance on its own. You can also change the view of the calendar as well. So grid view gives you this nice sort of carousel sort of approach where you can flick through. You've got a list, so you can have it in a sort of nice, neat list, and this is how it will print out for those offline customers. And then you've got calendar view if you prefer to actually look at it like a real calendar as well. As you can see, the little icons align with the filtering sort of emojis, if you like, up here as well, just for easy reference. What you'll see is that the events that are upcoming are in this teal colour, and the ones that have passed are in this purple colour. And the difference is that the upcoming ones you can click into, view the details. So there's some notes in here saying full service as usual. And then you can click into another link. At the moment, we link this out to our service standards for the service. And it just takes you into a page that tells you, what should be included as part of that service. But if you were holding an event, say a in-person event or even an online webinar, you could link off to the event page. There's more information, start times, locations, etc. If you want to change these notes, that's fully customizable in the back end as well as on bulk, which I'll come to in a moment. So you can keep customers informed. What we've been doing for grounds maintenance, at the moment, we've got some contractor issues. So we've put a nice note in here to explain that whilst this might be the date that we think your grounds maintenance is coming on because of issues with the service at the moment, it may be on an alternative date, just to keep customers informed. When the event is in the past, the button changes to give feedback. And so that enables the customer to give feedback on a specific event, because what was happening before is customers could rate a service and they could say, oh, I think, your grounds maintenance is 1 star out of 5 because you haven't turned up, but we wouldn't necessarily know the date and if it's a recurring date. So as you can see on this page, the address is 10 to 18 Alwyn Place. And when you go into the feedback form, it will auto-populate the address. So it's one form, so it's centralized. So for us, again, it's working in an efficient way that all responses come into one bucket so we can analyze the data easily. But again, we know the address that it's relating to. We also know the date of the visit, and it auto-populates the visit that the customer is referring to as well. Enables them to put in some other details so that we can obviously go back to them, and they can also rate it out of 5 stars, tell us about their rating, and they can upload pictures and videos that sort of evidence the visit, whether it's a 5 stars because it looks brilliant or if actually it's a bit of a shabby job. So that's the main tool. Really, like I say, it's been quite a change for our customers to use this and have this level of transparency. It's been a long time coming that we haven't been able to give this information to customers. So the success has been quite good, we would say. So what we did to launch it is we sent it to some initial sites, ones that all of our buildings that were in scope, as well as those that had sort of reoccurring service issues. And we thought, that's a really good test batch for them to kind of tell us what they think of the tool, and also tease out any bugs, because like anything, even though we've done a lot of testing on this, there's always something that could come out. And we were really pleased with the uptake. So within 24 hours only, we had 365 unique views, which was accounted for about 15% of our customers that this tool was applicable to at this time. So that was really, we were really pleased to see that level of uptake. At that point, we got the confidence that actually we can roll it out to the rest of our customers. We didn't have any kind of major bugs in between initial launch and full launch. So that was really good. And we launched about a month ago now in full. And within that time, again, we've had 1,000 unique visitors that have come and checked out the tool itself. Again, that is quite significant because that's just what our Google Analytics is telling us. If they didn't accept cookies, then they're not in these stats. So we know that at a minimum, there's 1,000 unique views. And again, at this moment in time, this tool applies to around 2.5 thousand customers. So that's quite a number to kind of reach. The other thing that has happened since we've launched this tool is we've had 31 pieces of feedback, and that's from around 25 customers. So there's a couple of reoccurring ones in there, but actually 31 pieces of feedback we see as a good thing. One, because the tool is being used, but also the fact that the feedback isn't like huge and there's loads of entries coming through shows us that actually perhaps we've eradicated the main issue, which was we want to know when our contractor is coming. So for us, that's quite reassuring. We also asked customers that we sent the tool to and we campaigned about it to what they thought of it. And at the moment, on average, they are rating it 4 to 5 stars. So that's really positive as well. And as we touched on earlier, it's really helped us improve our contractor management as well. So with the approach that I just explained, by pulling all the data into one place, having that oversight, we've been able to identify sort of hotspots where there have been issues, or sites where there have been more problems than others. And what that's done is we've been able to then say, well, actually, is it a particular cleaner that's the issue here? And then replace that cleaner, and actually it improves the service. So that's been really useful as well, and obviously contributes towards enhancing customer experience. So in terms of managing the tool and the data that sits within it, like I say, it's quite simple, or it seems quite simple on the front end, which is what we want for customers. But actually there was quite a lot of intelligence that went into the build. So in order to populate all of the landing pages, so that's pages that look like this, Prodo developed a importer. So at the moment, that's a CSV document, and it's got all of our property data in it, all of our addresses and postcodes as well. And that allows us to bulk import all of our properties, and it will auto populate a landing page like this. So again, making it easy for us to create them. Second to that is another importer sort of sheet, which is the events side of it. And again, that's all of the cleaning and grounds maintenance visits, or any other events that you want customers to know about, in one massive sheet that goes into the system. Both properties and events have their own unique reference codes. So if you need to, say, for example, your grounds maintenance is moving from a bank holiday Monday to a bank holiday Tuesday, you can easily update that using the same property reference by just updating the spreadsheet and re-importing it into the website. So it does it en masse for you. But also the website gives you a way to customize individual events on an ad hoc basis. So if you know there's just one site or one visit where the cleaner's not going to come that week, maybe it's due to sickness or adverse weather or something, you can go into the website and update that so that customers are aware of it. So that's really useful as well. And actually those importer tools were a great exercise for us, because as Fiona touched on earlier, we're doing a big data project, and what it did is it actually highlighted where there are issues with our data that we could fix in our system. So we had some flats that were recorded as maisonettes, some that were maisonettes that should be flats, and it's really important for us to know the difference between the two. At the end of the day, obviously we still take care of our homes in the same place, in the same way. But with this tool in particular, maisonettes don't necessarily have a fire risk assessment, just because they don't have shared communal entrances and things like that. So it was really good at highlighting where maybe our data wasn't up to date, and so that we could correct that as well. So that's a whistle-stop tour. Is there anything else you want to cover on it or look at?
I don't think so. I think that covered it really, really well there, to be fair. I wonder if you had anything on so some of that feedback that you've received. How do you go about actioning, whether that's if you're getting a 5-star review, what do you do off the back of that, versus if it maybe is a lower level of feedback, or anything in particular from a internal workflow point of view you do off the back of those sort of interest?
Yeah, absolutely. So our kind of customer insights team have oversight of all feedback that comes into the business, and of course their first port of call is to liaise with the estates team to fix the issue if it is obviously negative feedback. If it's positive feedback, they still share it, it gets recorded as compliments, and we have processed internally for sort of singing praises. But what it goes into is we've got a focus at the moment on what's called lessons learned. So again, we have a master document for any feedback coming into the business that's sort of highlighting key things that we need to work on and change. The other thing that we do with that data is we have a look at, if it's sort of one person saying it, that could be one person saying it. But by having that holistic view, if you can see it's sort of reoccurring things that customers are saying, actually that's something we need to dig deeper into. And we've got it launched a year ago, a new engagement model, which is called Thrive Customer Voice. And that's a flexible sort of member subscription in a way. It's obviously completely free for customers to tell us that actually they'd like to get involved in influencing our services, and they can choose when they want to get involved and when they want to opt out. It's completely flexible to them. But what we do is we take any data like that, and we might identify that actually at the moment, perhaps, for example, we've had a look at things like with our repair service, again, customers not feeling like they were being kept informed. Well, let's actually talk to our members about this and see what we can do about it. Have they got suggestions for improvement? Are there things we can test and they can give sort of feedback on or pilot with us? So it really does give us some pull in and make a meaningful difference for customers.
Yeah, definitely. Great stuff. Okay. That was a really, really thorough explanation and demo. So thanks for that, Leah.
That's all right, no worries.
Any specific questions that we've had through there? It's probably a good time to do those now, Joe, if there's anything in particular that's come through.
I think we've only had one up to now, Jake, but that was actually just covered off at the end of Leah's demo. Yeah, it was just about sort of systems that they're using in the back end and how they're servicing that data that they hold, out towards the to the customers. Yeah.
All right. Great stuff. Okay. I think that's probably, I know we're coming up to time anyway, but I wondered, Leah and Fiona, if there's any sort of plans for this tool in particular going forward. You touched upon the fact that at the moment it's sort of CSV import driven, which maybe not necessarily that onerous for you anyway, but is there anything in particular planned for developments on this in the future from this tool's perspective, but also generally self-service for Thrive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As Fiona said earlier, we're quite ambitious. We always want to go that step further and try and make it better. So on the roadmap is Microsoft Dynamics, and that's something that we're really keen for this tool to work with. And as Fiona touched on earlier, the contract portal side of it. So at the moment, it's our team that will be logging in and updating individual events or importing new events into the system. But we want our contractors to take ownership of that, because that just cuts us out as the middle person and means that customers get updates quicker and more efficiently. So that's definitely on the roadmap there. The other thing as well is that at the moment we've imported all of our flat blocks, but we haven't imported our houses. And particularly where we've got new developments, there are sort of useful things we can share with customers, like manuals for boilers and components and things like that. So that's very much a sort of phase 2 area that we can look to further customize using the tool as well. The other thing is using the calendar for wider events. At the moment, we've kept it just cleaning and grounds maintenance, but we want to host our engagement events on there, anything that's going on in the area, perhaps even major works to properties. So if a block is having, decoration works, yes, the customers will know about it through like the Section 20 process and stuff, but this is another way of making them aware of what's happening when people are on site, that kind of thing as well. And another thing that customers have told us that they would be interested to see is like estate maps, so they can see like which part of the grass is cut as part of the service and which part isn't, because sometimes we've got boundaries of like the local authority, and so we'll get customers complaining, so we only cut half the grass, and we're like, yeah, that's because only that part is ours, the rest of it is the local authorities. So there's a little bit of that could just make things clearer for customers as well. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Fiona.
No, I think you've done it brilliantly. Obviously, the main driver for us is linking up. This was built with our shift to Dynamics in mind. So it has influenced how that aspect of our CRM system will be built.
There is actually a question in the chat pane there, Fiona, about obviously asking if it's currently feeding from Dynamics 365, which is not. But will there be any issues with that change, do we foresee?
There's always a bit of a teething issue, but it has been built with Dynamics in mind, and it's all about the data, the fields matching up. And so we've worked very closely with our business transformation team, and they were driving the data fields so that it was a whole business collaborative project to make sure that we future-proofed it. Yeah.
I suppose the positive thing of approaching it in this way as well, you've already talked about the fact that it was maybe sort of soft launch, I suppose, in a way to a certain set followed by a wider launch. And you've now got the data to back up the fact that this tool is used, and people view it, people use it from end to end to leave reviews as well. So I suppose it helps you with that potential next phase of integration and even expansion of functionality you've touched upon as well, Leah, around the fact that, that it will benefit people because it is a popular thing that people use. So I suppose approaching the project in this way is and having that CRM implementation happening alongside and integrating it later is probably quite a positive way to go about it.
Yeah, I think probably there's a question from Rich in the chat that probably feeds in quite nicely to that if you were doing this project again, what would you do differently?
Good question.
It's a very good question. I think we already, you probably would think you'd know this when you set out, but you kind of expect your data to be reliable. So I think, you can never be 100% certain, but it wasn't like we were using sort of in-depth customer data or anything for this project at all. It's all on a property level. So you think, well, actually that should be quite reliable, right? But it wasn't. And that's what would trip us up a little bit. Because the import, it's at the end of the day, it's a computer, it's binary, it's yes or no, I want this information or I don't. And so when we then loaded our data in to start with, we were like, whoa, okay, there's a problem. But it was our data that was the issue, not the system. I think the other thing as well is it sounds, again, pretty simple to say this, but the relationship with contractors, which we would like to think we have a good relationship with contractors. But again, getting them to do what they say they will is often a harder task than, it is to say. So again, like I touched on earlier, being able to hold them to account and sort of setting those expectations with the contractor is like, look, we are going to be completely visible with our customers. It's not just you come on week 1, you come on week 2. Like, we want to know the day that you are coming on, just to make sure that they are supporting the implementation of this as well.
Yeah.
Great point. All good points. Great stuff. Okay. Was that all of them, Jo, that we've had through?
There was just one other one that was, you mentioned percentages of take up on the app, and is this increasing weekly?
It is, yes. I haven't got the exact stats of what it was after the first week. I don't know if you've got it, but the 1,000 unique visitors to date was as of this week. But that definitely had grown after the first kind of wider launch as well. So yeah, we are seeing,
Yeah, I think you'll probably find you will get spikes because people will want to use this when they're unhappy. They're not going to, very few people are going to want to log in and tell us how wonderful we are, but they very quickly tell us when we're doing it wrong. Yeah. And so I don't know, it's very, and so it'll be interesting to see over time what triggers those spikes. And obviously, if we see a drop, we'll be supporting it with customer communications and so forth to make sure we're getting the value for money.
I think we'll see a spike probably in the next week because we've had so much rain and the grass has grown, and that's usually when customers say my grass hasn't been cut. So yeah, that's probably when it will spike again. But yeah, so we're still campaigning at the moment as well to get customers on. I say we're still campaigning. We actually took a bit of a pause just because of the contractor issues with the grounds maintenance at the moment. So they're having, I don't know if you saw the message that I demoed a minute ago, but they're just having some issues. It means some of the visits are delayed. So the last thing we want to do is go, come on, check your grounds maintenance day, and then actually it's not on that Tuesday, it might be on Friday. So yeah, we're just taking a bit of pause, but once that issue is resolved, which the team is working through rapidly, then we will be doing another push, so it'll be good to see it being used. We are including it in our key comms as well, so we've got 2 newsletters that are coming up as well that will advertise it to those offline audiences. That will be interesting because obviously they're offline, so they don't know it exists yet, and the way that we've communicated it is essentially like, if you'd like a copy of your schedule, contact us because we can provide you with a printed copy. So that'll be quite nice to see how that goes down as well.
Yeah, really interesting.
No, definitely. Great stuff. Well, I think we've kind of used up the time now. So just wanted to quickly say a big thank you to you both, Leah and Fiona, for joining us today and giving such a thorough overview of the project background, purpose, and also the demo as well. I think you're better than me, Leah, at demoing software as well, to be fair. So thank you for that as well. Very good.
Thank you.
I'm just going to flash up one slide before we end, which will be just a quick one on our next session, which is at the end of August, and it's going to be all around digitizing the onboarding process from applications of lettings and sort of onboarding new customers as well, and the potential benefits around that with another few sort of real world examples. So feel free to head over to the Hive landing page to sign up for that one. But yeah, I suppose if we finished all the questions and there's nothing further from you guys, I just want to say a big thank you for joining us today. And again, to Leah and Fiona for all the time and effort you put into not only the project, getting it off the ground and sort of testing and launching it going forwards, but joining us today to talk about it in such a great way. Thank you very much.